Hey all, welcome back. I think some of you really enjoyed when I compared russet versus Yukon when it comes to fries. And today we'll take a look at ricotta versus cottage cheese when it comes to a lasagna. Now there's a dedicated video for this white lasagna with chicken and spinach and mushrooms where I go into much more detail than I'll go into today. Today let's focus on, well, ricotta versus cottage cheese. Does it really matter or is it all the same?
And if you're liking what you're seeing, then consider supporting and following us on these other platforms as well. And it always is a good thing if you subscribe and turn on all notifications. So here I have some blanched spinach, and it's really easy to make it. Just boil it for a couple of minutes and then put it in a bowl of iced water. And then quickly sauteed mushrooms. Nothing complicated here, just some salt, pepper, and some butter. And now comes the real experiment. We're gonna make two sets of fillings essentially, or basically the body of the lasagna, made of ricotta and made of cottage cheese. There is a tiny difference in texture and flavor between the two, but let's taste it. Just vanilla first. Let me rephrase that. There's a big difference. This is clearly way wetter and chunkier than the ricotta, pretty sure. Let's look. That looks more like it. I mean, I'm used to it. Yeah, just plain unseasoned ricotta. Now, I'm not too excited to taste this because it's so wet, but it's my job to taste so that if I do have to reduce the amount of the cottage cheese to use, I will do that based on the flavor. The cottage cheese is much stronger. It definitely has a flavor, but I think using the same amount could be fine. So 1 cup of cottage cheese on this side and 1 cup of ricotta on the other side. And you need some of your cheeses as well. So I'm going to divide that up in each of these bowls. There's bits of Swiss, mozzarella, and old yellow cheddar. And it's always amazing how a huge volume of spinach just turns into this little gloop like this. But that's, believe it or not, is 4 cups of cooked spinach that's been squeezed the life out of. Then you need your eggs, the chicken. This is just rotisserie chicken, which I've chopped up with some bits of skin as well. It's very delicious. Salt and pepper. And I should have probably used larger bowls, but I think that's why I have the KitchenAid. I'm just going to transfer everything into that, and we won't let anything mix together. So let's mix up the cottage cheese mixture first. I do notice that it is a bit wetter than what I'm usually used to with the ricotta mixture, and you can see that when I do the ricotta mixture, it looks more like the traditional consistency of something ricotta in a lasagna. Now maybe because I used this creamed cottage cheese, that's why it looks like this, but it's something that anybody can run into, and I'm curious to see if this might result in my lasagna becoming watery. Nobody wants that. But honestly, both these mixtures look really good. I gave it a quick taste. They taste kind of similar, which is kind of bizarre. It does highlight in each mixture ricotta versus cottage cheese, so it just stands out on its own.
Then you want to go ahead and make your lasagna. I have this pot of water on a rolling boil, and the key to basically preventing your lasagna sheets from sticking is to always maintain that rolling boil. It'll prevent the lasagna with the starches in it from just sitting and sticking next to each other, which technically causes them to stick. So if the water is just wild, it's gonna prevent multiple sheets from just sitting and sticking together. And today I'm actually not even gonna cook it all the way. In the original recipe I did cook it, I think like 9-10 minutes, but I've seen a lot of other cooks not even cook it at all. It just bakes all in the oven. Now I've never done that, so I'm gonna take this baby step and cook it halfway and then start assembling my lasagna. But I also need to prepare a quick bechamel sauce, and that's going to be very straightforward. Just your butter and flour to create that roux. And when you get that nutty aroma, add your cold milk and then whisk until it's all combined. Now, the key here, you're gonna add parmesan that's finely grated. Once the temp has come down just a tiny bit, once the bechamel has basically thickened up, and then you season it with salt and pepper to make sure that it's not too salty. This is going to be an incredible sauce for pizzas, dipping sourdough bread, or this lasagna right now. Make sure that everything in this experiment is one to one. Cottage cheese and ricotta will assemble it all the same way. And after I'm done assembling it, I'm not going to be the one who puts it in the oven because I don't want any sort of bias to affect which casserole I prefer more. I let the taste do the trick. So just start layering. You want to do your sauce, noodle, chicken, mushroom, and then repeat until the top layer where you're going to finish with just your noodles, sauce, and cheese. And here are the magical hands that are putting the lasagnas inside the oven where they will bake for about 30 or so minutes. Just look for some browning on the top or take it out earlier if you don't like any brown at all. But you want at least 25 30 minutes that lasagna to cook and for everything to just meld together. And let's talk a little bit about ricotta and cottage cheese. Ricotta and cottage cheese are actually quite similar. Even the texture is kind of similar, where you have lumps of cheese curds basically, ricotta being much finer. But they both basically have the same parent. They all come from milk, and technically you can use whole milk to then turn that into cottage cheese and then use the whey from that production and turn that into ricotta. Industrial ricotta, or the stuff that you get at the store, is made from leftover whey that's usually kind of sweet from industrial cheese production. That's why your ricotta at the store, just plain, without any added seasonings or salt or sugar, is just naturally sweet. And you would also think that cottage cheese, being a bit watery and even acidic sometimes, will not make it a great option for lasagna. But in my case, I used creamed cottage cheese and I just found it was more milky and creamy than acidic. I did not taste that at all in this package, at least. But if you are using regular cottage cheese, the best way to use it for lasagna is to drain the excess water. And I'm telling you, when you've mixed all of your other components for the lasagna and the cottage cheese is a part of it, you will not really notice the acidity, even if it's there, enough to affect the whole flavor that's in a lasagna. Now, for the cottage cheese, the reason why I seem to have such a unfair bias against it is I didn't know that cottage cheese in North America is not what we think cottage cheese is in India. So when I moved here and I was in my student residence, then I wanted to have paneer and I found cottage cheese and I made this amazing sauce, cubed the cottage cheese. It wasn't the creamed kind, it was the actual block of it. And as soon as I put it in the sauce, it just melted. And it was sour and it just ruined my entire meal. And that was like a number of years ago. And I haven't touched cottage cheese since. This is my first time having it after all those years. So here we are. Now, honestly, I don't even know which one is which because I did a great job in keeping all the variables the same, besides ricotta or cottage cheese. This looks kind of perfect. Let's try to smell it first.
I smell cheese.
It would smell like cheese. Visually, if I had to guess, I'll take this one as ricotta. Just because of how it looks on the sides. This one really smells milky. And because of that, I think I was wrong. This one might be the cottage cheese. Honestly, I can't tell because it's so hot. But let's taste the other one. I think I know then. I think that's the cottage cheese. I was wrong.
Look at that.
They both taste amazing. Both are hot, cheesy, a lot of flavor. Maybe I just don't have the palate to identify lasagna with cottage cheese versus ricotta. Because honestly, if it tastes like this, then it really doesn't matter if you pick ricotta or cottage cheese, depending on what you get at the store or what you prefer personally, because these both turn amazing. And I didn't think I would say this, but the cottage cheese one, whichever one that is, really just tastes good. Just pick what your heart desires. And by the way, when my mouth did stop burning, I found out which one of these casseroles was made of cottage cheese, and I think I preferred that one. I just liked how creamy it made the lasagna, and because it's new, I'm gonna lean towards using that in the future. But I'm sure that a diehard cottage cheese or ricotta fanatics who will probably disagree with that. Let me know what you want to see next, and if you want to see more comparisons just like this, well, just shout out down below on what exactly you want me to compare. I'll see you all on the next one. This was fun.